A little while ago, I tried my sim racing rig, wheels, pedal, the whole setup on Forza Horizon 6, just to see if it would even work. And somewhere in that video, almost in passing, I said I had no interest in playing this game on a controller. I just didn't think it would be fun. So this is the video where I eat those words. Now, to be clear about what I'm not claiming, I'm not here to reveal that the controller is the better way to play Forza. Of course it is. That's what the game was built for. Everyone knows that. The thing I got wrong was that the controller would feel like a toy. I'm a wheel and pedals person after all. It doesn't. It's genuinely surprisingly fun, and not for the reasons I expected. A quick bit of context for why I even picked one up. I got knocked off my motorcycle recently, and a couple of busted ribs means I can't use the sim rig right now. But I'd been enjoying my time with Forza Horizon 6 and didn't want to stop, so I grabbed the controller. Because what started as make do with a pad turned to a much more interesting question, one I think most people get completely backwards. Can a game this arcadey actually be the best way into real sim racing? By the end, I'll tell you why I think the answer is yes, where the controller still drives me a little crazy, and one part of Forza I tell you to avoid entirely. Forza Horizon is an arcade racer. It is not a simulator and has never pretended to be. So the whole point of that last video was kind of an experiment. What happens if you take a proper sim rig built for hardcore racing sims and bolt it into this big, loud arcade playground? Does it even feel right? Can you even play it? And while I was doing that, I made an assumption. I couldn't imagine the pad being anything but a downgrade. So I dismissed it without really trying it. And for what it's worth, the rig works great. The experiment succeeded. I had a fantastic time. If that were the end of the story, there'd be no video. But then I couldn't use the rig anymore, and I wanted to keep playing. I was really enjoying this game. The setting, the cars, the sense of just going. I wasn't ready to put it down. So I picked up a controller. I fully expected this to be the lesser version, a compromise, a make-do. I sat down braced for floaty, imprecise second-rate driving. And instead, it was a blast. Almost immediately, the game just flows on a controller in a way that, honestly, the rig doesn't. There's a lightness to it, less effort, more immediacy, more of that pick-up-and-play joy. It wasn't a downgrade from the rig. It was a different kind of fun, which got me thinking, because it's fun wasn't a good enough answer. I wanted to know why it felt so different. Not just better or worse, different. My assumption had been it's the same game just with a worse input device. Wheel good, stick bad. Otherwise, identical. But it isn't the same game. Start with the camera. On the pad, I live in the chase cam, third person, floating just behind my car. In the rig, I'm in the cockpit, first person, in the seat, reading the road like I'm on it. That one choice changes a lot. What information you get, how you place your car, even how brave you feel. Add the pad's natural pull towards assisted arcaded flow and the rig's pull towards simulation, and you end up with two genuinely different experiences out of one game. Not better or worse, just two different games wearing the same cover. So at this point, I stopped thinking about, is it controller versus wheel? That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is this. The version of Forza I was enjoying most, arcade, physics, a controller, chase cam floating behind a car, was handing me the exact feeling I chase when I strapped into a hardcore racing sim. And that cracks open a much bigger question. We treat arcade races and sim races like opposites. One's a toy, one's serious. One's for kids on the couch, one's for people with, let's be honest, too much money. But what if that's actually backwards? What if the silly arcade game is the single best gateway into the serious one? And to answer that, I have to remind some sim racers on something that we might have forgotten along the way. One of the things that actually makes racing thrilling in the first place. Because it's not the thing that sim racing is always the best at. Stick with me. If you ask a sim racer which game or sim is the best, they'll often talk about realism, physics fidelity, tire temperatures, fuel maps, telemetry, the simulation getting closer and closer to the real thing. And sometimes that gatekeeping comes with it. If your game isn't simulating hard enough, it doesn't count. But that's only one part of sim racing. That's only one part of racing that's so thrilling. The other part is wheel-to-wheel racing. It's outbreaking somebody into a corner they thought was theirs. It's picking a defensive line and daring them to try. It's putting a rival into an awkward position and watching them bobble and pouncing the instant they do. That's the drug. The chess match at 200 miles an hour. And here's the thing. Forza, arcade physics and all, gives me that again and again. The fidelity doesn't matter. The racecraft does. So if one of the most thrilling parts of racing is the racecraft, then the goal for the whole hobby should be getting more people to feel that, so they fall in love with racing the way we did. Sim racing is a wall. It's expensive, the physics are punishing before they're rewarding, the communities can be intimidating. Most curious people bounce off the barrier long before they ever reach the fun. They never get to the good part, so they never get hooked. Forza Horizon hands you the good part on day one. It runs on a controller you already own, and while you're just having fun, it's quietly teaching you the instincts. Racing lines, braking points, when to commit, when to back out, how to fight someone fairly through a corner. Without even knowing it, you've been learning how to race on a couch instead of a wall. That's the gateway. Now, don't get me wrong, it is not perfect, especially coming from Sims. Steering is generally hard to judge on a pad. The stick has such a tiny range of motion compared to a wheel's degree of rotation that it's hard to feel how much input you're actually giving. You're guessing at small differences with your thumb, and the triggers are the same story. Braking and throttle feel inconsistent, hard to meter precisely. I still get caught out by it. It's very good, but it's by no means perfect. And then there's the rest. The physics are arcadey, and at times genuinely inconsistent, which is fine for what this is, but don't walk in expecting a sim. And the multiplayer, avoid it, at least if you're after real racing. It's a dive-bombing demolition derby. The racecraft I spent this whole video praising basically doesn't exist online. So the recommendation is specific. This is a joy against the AI, and a brilliant gateway. It is not a sim, it is not a serious online racing game. Know which one you're buying into. So, I was wrong. Not about controllers in general, about this. I said I didn't think I would have fun in Forza Horizon 6 on a controller. Turns out, I had a lot of fun. Imperfect, thanks to the thumbstick and those triggers, but genuinely a great time. And the bigger question, can an arcade game be a real gateway into serious racing? Yes, and maybe the best one there is. Not in spite of being arcadey, but because it strips away every barrier and hands you one of the most fun things that actually makes racing addictive. The fight, wheel to wheel for a single corner. Now, I'll be honest, because the answer isn't all upside, it's a gateway, not a destination, not a simulation. And its online racing is something I'd steer you away from. But I recommend it for exactly what it is, and that's hard to beat. I'll be back in the rig when I'm healed up, but I'm oddly glad the controller got its turn, because it reminded me of one of the best parts of racing. And that part doesn't actually live in the wheel, the pedals, the physics. It survives all the way down to a thumbstick and a chase cam. If you were like me and didn't have any interest in an arcade game on a controller, I encourage you to give it a shot. Likewise, if you felt sim racing was always out of reach, ignore the haters, jump on Forza Horizon 6 with a controller and enjoy some of the best parts of racing. If you enjoyed the video, a subscribe goes a long way. Thank you very much. I will see you on track.